Bad station, arawakradio.com. So, of course, Tanya Stephens, we always kick off the interviews by asking, who is Tanya Stephens? Who are you?
I'm still trying to figure that out.
Okay.
I don't think Tanya Stephens is any one thing. I try my best not to be static, you know?
Yeah.
I've been growing ever since I know myself.
Mm.
I am personified prose. I am life.
Yeah.
I am good food and music and happiness and laughter and sexy things. And, you know, I'm also some amount of pain, but I'm growth from the pain.
Yeah.
I embrace everything.
Yeah,
and I feel like life is a privilege and a blessing. And I've had so much of it that I have a lot to be grateful for.
Yeah.
So I'm a work in progress, but I'm also appreciation for all the things that I have and all the things that are coming to me.
Yeah. Well, you know what? That's got to be one of the most honest answers I've ever had. Because, you know, so I don't know what it is, but sometimes artists, they kind of big themselves up. But everybody knows artists are human beings just like everybody. So thank you for being so honest that you're a human being. You're going through the good, going through the bad, and that's a blessing.
Of course. Listen, if I'm not honest about who I am, I shall change myself.
Yeah.
The reality is that when I'm going through pain, I cry to the people who are nearest to me, because if I don't cry, they don't know I'm going through pain, so I can't get help.
Yeah.
So I have to actually be honest about where I am so I can get what I need.
Yeah.
It's not about, for me, it's never about looks. I don't care how I look.
Yeah.
When I leave home, I don't see myself again until I go back home.
Yeah.
I don't care how I look.
I like that. I'm going to use that one. I like that, definitely. So, you know, let's take it back a little bit. When did this music journey begin? When did it all start happening?
Well, it actually started when I was still in school, because I started writing while I was still in school.
Wow.
But when the professional part of it, like walking into a studio and saying I want to sing and then going in the voice room, that started at the end of my 16th year. I think when I turned 16 in the summertime.
Okay.
I walked into the studio the first time in the summertime at Grove Music, and then I started hanging out there, and so it was the end of 1989.
Wow.
At the end of 89 that I started doing anything that could be considered professional.
Okay.
And it was a lot of watching and learning and just being there. Listen, I had the privilege of being in studio when Burning Spear was recording.
Wow.
When Chief was recording as a teenager. Can you imagine?
Gosh.
I was struck. I was amazed. I couldn't shut my mouth. I was like,
I hear that.
So nice. They were really nice. Like Burning Spear he felt like my father. He felt like a father because he was so caring and comforting, and he always asked, "Are you alright?
Wow.
You okay?"
Yeah.
And I was just hanging out in the studio. I didn't even belong there. But when they were getting food and, you know, incidentals, he would ask if I needed anything, and he got for me too. And I was like, This is not food, this is Burning Spear food.
Wow. I like that for real. And, you know, seeing those greats in the studio, what did you take away from that as an artist now? What did you take from that?
Well, the discipline that these artists put into making their music.
Yeah.
You know, when I went to dancehall after that.
Oh. So
when I went into dancehall, I was confused because there's so much chaos. There are 5 guys, 6 guys, 7 guys lined up waiting to record. When Burning Spear is running a session, he will work on one song for 3 days.
Yeah.
If that's what it takes him, a week, whatever it takes him. And he'll be and when I listen and I think, but this sounds perfect, and they're like, all right, so now we take it for real. Like, so I had that. I learned that discipline, that dedication to craft. You know, that respect for the art.
Yeah.
and the patience that they put into their music. Like, I got that.
Yeah.
And it also made me, I think it made me comfortable in the space that nothing could ever really faze me.
Okay.
I've never been, because I met the biggest first.
Yeah.
So anything that came after was like, yeah, whatever, you know, burning spear.
I like that. Wow. Definitely. And you know, you've worked with some big producers as well, from Dave Kelly to Philip Burrow and so many more greats. How did that come about? Because how does that happen?
Well, see, the thing, the first gateway was walking into Grove Music Studios when I was a teenager.
Okay.
The first time I walked into Grove Music, I was still in school.
Yeah.
I went there in my St. Mary High School uniform, green tunic with a white blouse underneath, and brown shoes and brown socks, and I walked up to the front of what is now RFM. And I saw a guy sitting there. He was sitting there smoking a cigarette. And he looked up and saw me and he said, "Can I help you?" And I said, "Well, I hope so. I hear there's a recording studio here and I want to sing." And he was like, "You can sing?" I'm like, "Yeah, I think so." And I write songs.
Yeah.
And he said, "Well, come back when you're finished with school. Come back when you're done with school.
Okay.
Go on at school." And I was so disappointed. I was like, I don't like this. But he turned out to be one of my best friends ever.
Wow.
That was Barry O'Hear.
Okay.
Barry O'Hear, he passed in 2020.
Wow.
And I came back. So this was, when I went to him, it was about May or June.
Yeah.
In 89. And then when the summer came, I went back and he said, "Can I help you?" And I'm like, "You asked me that already. I told you I want to sing and you said I should come back when I'm done with school. I am back." And he said, I didn't tell you to come back when you get holidays. I meant come back when you're finished with school, when you graduate." And I'm like, "I graduated?" Because I was so small.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I just left high school. I'm done. So now I want to sing.
Yeah.
So now will you listen to me? And I was like, all right, come. Went into the studio, sang him something. And then he said, "It's have a thing." And I was like, what? I thought that meant I was wicked. Later on, when I got to know him well, then I realized that's what he says when he doesn't know what to say.
Oh. Wow.
Yeah. But that was the first introduction. That's how I got into music.
Wow.
And then after that, I just kept pushing and pushing and pushing. I never took no for an answer anywhere. You know, if one place said, "Oh no, we don't record young artists," I just moved to the next place.
Wow.
And kept going and kept going. And if I made one song and it didn't really find any flavor, I'd make 10 more songs. And I say if I make 100 songs, you can't not like all of them.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
So I just kept
100%.
going.
Definitely. Wow. And so, you know what? Where did that, I want to say, drive, believing in yourself, determination, there's so much going on there from a young age. Where did that come from? Because that is different.
Well, it's not different here. It's common in Jamaica.
Okay.
So what it is hunger.
Yeah.
It's hunger.
Yeah.
It's not just hunger for culinary stuff. It's not hunger for food. It's a hunger for success, a hunger for different.
Yeah.
You know? Like I come from poverty and that's what drives us.
Yeah.
When you come from poverty, when you're from the country or you're from the ghetto, wherever you're from, which has poverty as its theme, then you want out.
Yeah.
You want out and you look for a way. And anything that looks like a way, you pursue it relentlessly because you want out. And then that's what makes some people make it out because they have more of a drive and a hunger for it than some others.
Wow.
But you push and you never stop pushing.
Yeah.
Because something has to give. You know, and if I keep coming back, and when and I don't take things personally, when I make a song that I think like this is really, really good, and then a producer would say, "I don't like it, find something else." I have to throw it out right away, get it out of my mind, and come up with something else real quick. So it made me, I think it sharpened my wits.
Okay.
It really, really refined my writing skills, and it also grew my personality. It kind of toned down my ego.
Yeah.
And that's something that I wish these kids today would have. You know, the need for hunger. But when you come into the business and somebody holds your hand and becomes your sponsor, you really don't get to develop that hunger.
Yeah.
Because you're not hungry.
Yeah.
It's hunger.
Yeah, I hear that, because if you look at all the greats, such as yourself, you know, it's like that's what drove them. Just like people always refer to Bob Marley coming up, and then obviously that hunger drove him to where he was, and even to this day, his family are reaping from that, and it's just a blessing, like you said.
Yeah.
It's a blessing, but it's also sad that you guys had to grow up in that poverty as well. Do you know what I mean? And it's still happening now.
Yeah, but you know, I've learned over the years from experience and observation.
Yeah.
And just from thinking, life really is made up of everything.
Yeah.
You know? And everything that I've experienced, everything that you've experienced, we've only experienced versions of it.
Yeah.
So everybody has a version of it.
Yeah.
And everybody thinks their version is the worst. But really everybody experiences it. So I think as I get older, I'm less concerned about stuff like that.
Okay.
Because hunger is relative.
Yeah.
And hunger is, to be honest with you, poverty exists mostly in the mind. Because it's relative. So it can't be real. If it only exists measured against something else, then it's not very real, is it?
Yeah.
So if you've decided that you're rich and you're comfortable and you're happy, then nobody can take that from you. Because there are so many people I know who have accomplished so much, and they have a lot of material wealth, but they're not comfortable.
Yeah.
And they're not happy. Happy is a decision, and comfort is a decision. It's not a place.
Yeah.
You can't get to it. You have to be it. So it's fine.
Yeah, I hear you. And so with that now, you've made so many hits, so many classics that people know all the time. As soon as I said to somebody, I'm going to be interviewing Tanya Stephens, people went crazy. And I wanted to know, how do you have that mindset to keep making those hits, I want to say? Because there was a tune that you did called These Streets. And I remember listening to that tune when I was in class. And I got in trouble for listening to it. But I never stopped listening to it. And I wanted to know, how did you come up with these tunes? How does it work for you, your creative process? How does it happen?
Well, first and foremost, I don't really set out to write songs.
Okay.
I set out to tell my story.
Yeah.
I want to share my perspective. I want to share my ideology.
Yeah.
Many of these stories are very personal to me.
Yeah.
You know, they're like diary pages.
Yeah.
And some of them are my stories. Some of them are other people's stories around me. So that every single one of them is real. So I don't set out to make songs, really. I set out to get the story told, and I like to share perspective.
Yeah.
Because I feel like we have so many divisions, and the divisions are superficial. They come from us thinking that we're so different.
Yeah.
And I feel like music gives me the opportunity and the luxury to be able to show us that we're not that different.
Yeah.
We're pretty much same. You know, we have all the same struggles.
Yeah.
If you're poor and your man gets locked up, or you're rich and your man gets locked up, you both suffer equally.
Yeah.
If this is somebody that you love, you know?
Yeah.
So it really, our divisions are, at best, they're superficial, and they're really not real.
Yeah.
And this is what I get to do with the music. And so I don't set out to write songs. I set out to tell the story.
Yeah.
And I didn't come into music via the church or anything like that. I came to music via literature and language class.
Oh.
So storytelling is what I would say, this is this is what I've been most trained to do professionally.
Yeah.
You know? And I appreciate my ability to tell this side.
Yeah.
And I want to use it. So this is what I do when I go to the writing board, or when I go to my book, or my whatever I'm writing in. I go with the intention that I want to get the story across. I put my ego aside, because it doesn't matter if I look bad.
Yeah.
As long as the story goes through. I want to be honest and transparent when I'm telling the story.
Yeah.
So if it means that I'm going to look bad, if it means that you're going to hate me, it just means that I've told the story efficiently, correctly, you know?
Yeah.
And that's it. I tell stories.
Yeah, I hear that. But, you know, with these stories, because, you know, like you said, they're pages from you as a person. When you've wrote them, is there ever a time where you think, I'm too vulnerable in that song?
A lot of times.
Wow.
A lot of times.
Wow.
For example, when I wrote, for years I've been trying to write a song that would feel like I correctly or efficiently express what goes on in the post-sexual trauma or post-rape mind.
Yeah.
And I wrote that song a million times and I was never satisfied. And then I wrote No Means No, which is a song I did about post-rape. And I listened to it and I felt like it represented my thought process.
Yeah.
I added more detail to cover so that I could cover more people, because it's not one story. It's really like a bunch of stories melted into one.
Yeah.
And when I listened to it, I felt satisfied. Like, yeah, I did tell that story. But then when I heard it being played by other people and it was public, I cringed a bit because it felt like, oh my God, this is private and personal, and other people now have it, so it's no longer private and personal.
Yeah.
But then I understand also that it is not just my story, and it's a story that needs telling. And the more of us tell it, the better it is, because it's something that we need to foster discussion so that we can find a solution to the problems that we have.
Yeah.
And so this is how I deal with it. Whatever I share that is personal, I know that it has the potential to help other people who are going through the same thing or who are dealing with the aftermath of the same thing.
Yeah.
That maybe it helps them, even if it doesn't help them to do anything physical, to make any change, at least it makes them feel less alone.
Yeah.
And feeling alone is one of the worst things can happen to a human, because we're social creatures.
Yeah.
We suffer in the space that is alone.
Yeah.
We need each other. We really do.
For real.
So it doesn't really matter that it makes me vulnerable. And as I grow older too, I'm more comfortable with being vulnerable.
Okay.
I'm not afraid to say anymore. If I don't want a relationship, but I don't want to be lonely, and I'm not afraid to say that. I say, hey, I need some company. What you doing?
Yeah.
And my friend with benefits, they'll be like, okay, I'll come over, and that works.
Okay.
You have to be vulnerable to actually heal and to get the help that you need.
Yeah. For real. You know what? You're so honest. I like that. The honesty is wicked. I love it. And so when it comes to that now, you spoke about your music aspects of it and stuff. And I wanted to know, because I'm a female DJ in the music business, and I wanted to know, what is it like being a female artist in this business? Tell us something about that.
Well, to be honest,
Yeah.
I'm aware of the setbacks that I face because I'm a girl, because I'm a woman, I'm female, but I don't focus on it.
Yeah.
I'm when it comes to that, I'm extremely competitive, because I've always been sold the idea that somehow girls are less than, and I've always been setting out to prove that no, I'm not.
Yeah.
And when they say you're good for a girl, I say, show me the guy. I've never met a guy who made me feel intimidated, you know.
Yeah.
So I try. My focus is to steer myself away from that.
Okay.
And I found that it actually worked. Because the moment I start saying I'm a girl, then I become a girl in this professional space.
Yeah.
But when I say no, I'm not a girl, I'm an artist.
Yeah.
I defy those gender identifications, because it really has no place in my work.
Yeah.
When I'm working, I work with words and melodies, bars and beats. I don't work with gender. My vagina has never played a part in my making music.
Yeah.
So it really doesn't matter that I'm a girl.
For real.
I just make music, and I try to make the best music. I don't make the best girl music. I try to make the best music I can make, so that I can compete with the guys. Because they know more than me.
Yeah. I like that. Definitely. The reason why I asked you as well is because when I interview a lot of female artists or artists in general, they do say to me that they have a hard time, especially when they're doing producing and things like that, because either the producer wants them to do something in order to get that out there, or they kind of exploit them basically. And I wanted to know how you dealt with that, if you went through that kind of thing.
Well, exploitation, first of all, the pitfalls of the gender bias or gender wars is everywhere. It's across the board. It's in every industry.
Yeah.
So I'm not going to downplay that it is in music. It's there.
Yeah.
But when I walk into a space, first I establish myself. I've established myself as a writer.
Yeah.
I established myself as a serious artist. It begins from simple jokes and stuff like that, and some jokes I don't allow to be run with me.
Yeah.
I define space the moment I walk in. I make it clear what I'm willing to accept and what I never will accept.
Yeah.
You know, and when I was coming into the business, I didn't always have the currency or the authority to do that, but I tried to stay away from situations which didn't feel like it was in my best interest. Things still got through, but I don't blame music for that.
Yeah.
I take roll with the punches, and I do the best I can to recover from or to avenge if I feel like it, and then I move on and I do music. So I'm usually telling people, a woman, to just be as bad as you can be.
Yeah.
Because if you are, the truth is, if you walk into a space, in a short pair of short shorts or a mini dress, and you belt the wickedest lyrics anybody ever heard you belt, no man is going to jeopardize being able to capitalize on those lyrics just so you could have some of your short shots.
Yeah.
So you have to walk in with more than the short shots and the short. There's nothing wrong with your dress.
Yeah.
You know, you should be able to wear whatever you want. You should be able to.
Yeah.
But it could physically compromise you. So typically, I will advise against doing that when you're going into the studio. Dress down.
Yeah.
Put on some jeans. Put on a sweater.
Yeah.
Something, and then go in and spit the baddest lyrics anybody ever heard since the beginning of time.
Yeah.
And I think that is the remedy. If you're a DJ, if you're spinning words, practice your craft. Just keep practicing.
Yeah.
Make sure you can. I don't know if people still scratch. Not very many people still do.
Yeah.
But make sure your selections are on point. Make sure you play music. It's seamless.
Yeah.
That when you from one song to the next, it feels natural, like that's supposed to like brew from the earth.
Yeah.
And whole of them, watch the crowd, listen to the crowd, because every audience is different. Every single artist, even if they're similar, they're different.
Yeah.
Because even if you get about the same 1,000 people in a room, it's the same 1,000 people moods. You know, the state of mind. They might have been happy when you saw them before, but now they're sad because they lost their job.
Yeah.
Now they're angry because they had a domestic dispute. So it's our audience, and it's our job to watch and listen to the audience, read the audience, and know what they need at the moment.
Yeah.
And some of us egotistical, you know, we get into ourselves and we feel like, I'm bad. I am bad.
Yeah.
But the reason why I'm bad is because I listen to my audience. So if they don't want any more of this, I throw it out.
Yeah.
I'm not going to insist, you know?
Yeah.
And just be the best you can possibly be.
Yeah.
It works out most of the time, but if it doesn't work out, go find some other best and be that.
Yeah.
There's no such thing as failure, really. If you apply the principles of science, you go by a process of elimination. Every single thing that looks like a failure to some people is actually one step closer to success if you're thinking.
Yeah.
So you know that you've already failed in this way, you can't fail this way again because you already know this.
Yeah.
So there are just so many steps, and you've knocked off one, you're closer.
Yeah.
Just keep going.
Yeah.
Keep going. And make the man them respect you. And when I say respect you, I don't mean as far as dress and behavior and mannerism, and I don't mean as far as morals and values.
Yeah.
Because those are subjective and they're relative. But I mean as far as your craft. You see, if you come out and you kill it,
yeah,
when you kill it, no matter how chauvinistic the man is, he has to bow down.
Yeah.
He has to bow down. And I know what the tops of most of these men's heads look like because they've bowed down.
Yeah.
That is what you need to do. Kill it. I kill it. Regardless of people who don't like me are forced to admit that I kill it.
Yeah.
And that is what you have to do. Just kill it.
I hear that 100%. And you know, you mentioned there about people not liking you. Wow, I don't know why, but still. When it comes to that now.
I'm so nice.
That's about me. I don't know what's going on. But when it comes to that now, because there is a lot of artists that mention about, it's about the music, not competition and things like that. What is it like being in this kind of industry where it's always quite competitive? What is it like?
But it's hard for me to tell because I've never had competition.
Okay.
I mean, the truth is, and I say that, and people might interpret it as cocky or arrogant, but I created a space for myself.
Okay.
I created a different niche that nobody else does what I do really. You'll find somebody who sings love songs.
Yeah.
You'll find somebody who sings about struggle. You'll find somebody who sings about political issues, socio-political or socio-economic issues. But you're not going to find anybody who does all of that.
Yeah.
Plus, take on gender bias, plus take on sexuality, take on racism or racial tension.
Yeah.
People are afraid, and I've never been afraid. So it kind of put me in a space of my own. Even though you might have heard of there being competition, that's not real. I can only have competition if people compete with my music, because we're not runners. We're not on track. You can't measure the speed and who gets to the finish line first in what we do.
Yeah.
You can only measure us per song. And per song, I have nobody to be measured against.
Yeah. I hear that for real.
I don't think about competition because I have none.
Yeah. I like that. I like that still. And throughout this interview, you mentioned about being real. And I feel like that's something that you keep to your heart. Tell us about that.
Yeah. Well, my credibility means a lot to me.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, I think that's the most valuable thing I have. That my word is worth something. That people, when I speak, I have people willing to trust and believe me not because I'm special, but because I don't lie.
Yeah.
I've been wrong before, but I've never lied.
Yeah.
So if I discover information which renders something I thought obsolete, or it proves that I was incorrect, I have no problem coming back and saying, "Hey, Kat, that I said yesterday,
Yeah.
garbage it, foolishness." I have no problem saying that.
Yeah.
Because I want to be right. I don't want to be pronounced right. I want to actually know.
Yeah.
I want to be correct.
Yeah.
So this is why I try to stay transparent. And I speak the truth.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, I don't need to remember what I said. I only need to remember what happened, because I'm going to always tell it correctly. Then I don't have to. What did I say to Kat when I was speaking to her?
Oh, yeah.
Then I have to go back and remember the lie I told you, so I can build another lie, support that lie. That's a lot of work. I don't care about any human, dead or alive, enough to do that kind of work.
Yeah, I hear that.
I really don't. I don't. So my word, I have to be honest.
Yeah, I hear that for real. And the way kind of how you are and how you're talking and stuff, I feel like you could do motivational speaking, you can do books. Is this something you thought about?
I mean, I get requests or get invitations to speak, mostly to kids. I used to do a lot more talking to kids, but then it started feeling hypocritical.
Okay.
Because I was expecting more from them than I did when I was a kid.
Oh.
I was demanding adult behavior from children.
Okay.
Adult maturity from children. And the reality is that children mess up. That's what we did.
Yeah.
That's what we learned.
Yeah.
And I can't deprive them of their experience and their own process. So I shied away from that. As far as writing, I've written a few books I've never published. Okay. Because it just feels like, now I'm starting to write fiction.
Okay.
But before I used to write non-fiction, so it was very personal. It's like pieces of me. I wrote about my life. I've written about my opinions on everything in life. And it just feels like it's too much. Like somebody could actually look into this thing and know me.
Yeah.
And I would like to maintain some privacy, some space.
Yeah.
But I'm actually finishing up works of fiction, which I have committed to myself to publish, because and it really isn't even about getting it to people as it's about getting it out of me. So my work fiction are really extensions of the non-fictions. I bring the stories to life and create cars and animate them with the ideas that I have in my non-fiction.
Yeah.
So I do plan to share those. As far as motivational speaking, I don't know, if you wake up in the morning and you're not motivated to something with the day, I don't know that I can help you. Because life has to be the most motivating thing that I can't talk.
Yeah.
I'm not going to lie to you. So if you ask me a question, I not be earning the dollar that I make as a motivational speaker when you ask me for something that would maybe put on salve or pacify you, and I'm not going to give it.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I can't do that.
I hear that. And you know, as well, when it comes to the music business, what would be your kind of advice for the up and coming young people coming into this industry? What would be your advice to them?
My advice would be, do not take anybody's advice.
I like that.
Don't take any advice, because we make music, it's creativity, it's expression of self.
Yeah.
So there's no other self who can tell you how to be yourself.
Yeah, I hear that.
You know, that would put you off the path. And things that work for me might not work for you. Things that didn't work for me might be the thing for you.
Yeah.
So I could really be advising you away from your highest potential. And I don't believe in it.
Yeah.
I don't believe in that. You can get advice on things like advice on how to work out a math problem. You know, study for your physics exam, advice on the best way to cut the fabric when you're creating a new piece. But when it comes to expressing yourself, you alone can determine how well or how best that should be done.
Yeah, I hear that, for real. And you know, another great tune that you've done kind of, and you put the collaboration piece together with Sadila and of course Diana King. I wanted to know how that came about.
Yo, I'm still awestruck, because first of all, these two women are legends.
Yeah.
These two artists are legends in their own right, you know? And I know that when people look at Sidella, for example, they see daughter of Bob Marley. But when I look at her, I see the person. I see what she's done. She was a member of her siblings group,
yeah,
the Melody Makers. She did something with her sister, and they were the Marley Girls. And she has gone off on her own, created a brand. She did clothing. She's actually made great input when it comes to like the reggae girls, and she took them on when nobody else saw any potential or promise in them.
Yeah.
And she managed to create a stink. She, you know, so when I look at stuff like that, and I look at Diana, and Diana is so different.
Yeah.
She's it's hard to, if I describe her, she doesn't sound like a Jamaican, you know.
Yeah.
But she's one of our best products.
Yeah.
She has an amazing voice. Like, she's world class.
Yeah.
You know, not good for a Jamaican. She's not good for a Caribbean girl. She's just and I'm a fan.
Yeah.
So when I look at these things, and especially Sidela hasn't done any music for a long time. She hardly does music. And when she said she wanted to do some work together, I thought it was a joke. She said, yo, let me sing some harmony on one of the tracks. And I was like, sure, you're right. She's like, no, I'm serious. So you haven't sent me the song. I want to sing some harmony. I'm like, well, if you're going to sing, it can't be a harmony. It must be lead. You have to sing lead. Take a verse. And she said, yeah. And I'm like, are you joking? She's like, no, give me the damn song.
I like that.
And I sent it, and she sent back some vocals. Yeah, she sent back some vocals which are so smoky and sensuous, and just when I listen to her voice, it makes me relax. And I thought, I'm going back in the studio. I'm going to try to make my voice sound more like hers. So I went back and did it and tried to tone it down and get that, because it makes you think and listen, you know? And then Diana come in, and Diana just slapped the whole thing out of the ballpark. It's like, Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
Goosebumps, tears, the three of us together. Wow. I can't think of any possible way, any other configuration that could make this as credible for what it is as us.
Yeah.
I really can't. And I'm not doing that out of ego, because I'm wait on these other two artists. You know, Diana being who she is.
Yeah.
And being so defiant and standing up in a Jamaican society and being Diana King, those two things don't go together, but she did put them together.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And so it happened organically. We didn't plan it, but when it did, oh God, my soul feel happy.
100%. And you know, I gotta be honest, when I heard the tune, it made me a little bit emotional. I'm not sure why that was, but I felt it straight away. And I thought, yeah, these three sisters, they are diamonds in the sun, for real. Definitely.
I love you felt that for no, I am happy you felt like that, because so I didn't do this song, I didn't do it for the audience, I did it for myself.
Yeah.
Because I am a 2-time survivor of sexual violence. So I'm basically trying to express what I wish I would have had when I was going through what I was going through.
Yeah.
The kind of support system that I would have wanted. You know, you can't go back in time and fix the past, but you can fix the present so that the past, the you from the past, feel comfortable and confident knowing that this situation doesn't exist the way it did back then.
Yeah.
So I do everything I can to change that for the kids coming up, for the youth, Tanya Stevens. You know, and this is what this thing does me. Every time I listen to it, I am emotional. I get goosebumps. I get tears fill up my eyes when I listen to it, because it's so raw. And all the feedback that we've been getting has been just like people obviously didn't even think of as any emotion. No one saying, yo, I listen to this, and people break when they explain to me how they feel when they listen to it. It is not my intention to inspire discomfort, but it's my intention to engage. And I see that this is happening. It makes me so happy.
Yeah.
I'm so happy, you know, but the feedback, it has been mostly emotional.
Yeah.
It's not been music feedback, it has been emotion feedback, and that makes me really happy, because I want the conversation to grow to the point where we get comfortable enough talking about it so that we can fix it. That is what I ultimately want, and I feel like people are listening and they're saying, I'm here, what can I do? And it's a lot.
Definitely. 100%. And as you're talking, I'm welling up as well, because I really did feel the emotion in that song, and I felt like it was something that just needed to be there. You know, it was something that definitely was needed out there in the realms of everything. It was definitely needed.
Facilities the growth and the solution. I need that for myself.
Yeah.
You know? Yeah. The child in me, the teenager in me, the young adult in me who felt helpless and hopeless needs to see that now that I have the strength and I have the voice and I have the platform and I have the power, I'm doing something.
Yeah. So
it's for me.
Yeah.
And I'm happy. There are other people working really hard. So this is not a topic that I have introduced.
Yeah.
You know, there are people who have been doing this work forever and a day, and I'm adding my voice, I'm adding my platform, my currency to that conversation.
Yeah.
Because many hands make light work.
Yeah.
And so, you know, some people might hear the conversation for the first time when they hear me talk about it because I'm in the media, but the reality is that there are many people ahead of me who did way more work, so I have to acknowledge them. I just want to say big up to everybody who has been working to create space for people like me.
Yeah.
And to create healing for people like me. Thank you very much. It doesn't really matter if the audience sees you. People like me, we see you.
Yeah.
You know, and we're the ones who need to see you. So big up on yourself and thank you very much. And I love you guys.
For real, 100%. And you spoke there about a solution. Is there a solution? Because it's so big, isn't it? It's so big.
It's huge, and it's really hard because this has been ingrained in the consecutive societies forever. So it's not something that there's no panacea for that. There's no one pill that you can take and boom, we're good now.
Yeah.
It's going to take effort and it's going to take collaboration. We have to work together.
Yeah.
We have to put aside our differences. We have to understand that this is our problem and we need to fix it. So I think we've made a lot of progress.
Yeah.
Because there was a time when this conversation wouldn't even take place. Because an empowered woman like you and an empowered woman like me didn't exist.
For real.
So we have made a lot of progress, and even though I get impatient and I sometimes feel a little bit sad or I get frustrated, I still have to remind myself that hey, we have come a long way. And we have a far way to go, but it's still important to acknowledge the wins, because if you focus on the losses, you'll stop.
Yeah.
And we can't afford that. We have to acknowledge that we've come a long way. We have a lot more to do, but we have done a lot.
Yeah.
So big up yourself. And the solution lies in changing the narrative. This is why I'm so aggressive. I'm violent when I discuss these things. Because I don't think there's any room for ambiguity. I don't think there's any room for sitting on the fence. There is no fence.
Yeah.
There's no seat on the fence. You're either in favor of being safe or you're not. There's no middle ground.
Yeah.
So I attack this matter violently because I know that the change, the solution will only come when enough of us work together to change the narrative, because it begins with the narrative.
Yeah.
First, we have the discussions which make it seem okay to hurt us. Like when we judge each other, even us, we judge each other, and we look at another woman and we say, look at what she's wearing, as if somehow that makes her less than human, that makes her own less than her franchise. We have to stop doing that too.
Yeah.
Everybody is not going to please everybody. And even if I don't like that mode of dress, I still have to understand that the respect level that I'm maintaining is not just for her, it's for all of us.
Yeah.
The moment we make it okay to degrade, to dehumanize, to belittle, to devalue one of us, all of us are compromised. So we have to hold up all of us. If she walks naked, respect.
Yeah.
It can't be based. My respect is never conditional. It can't be conditioned on my value system. My respect comes from me because I'm respectful, not because you're respectable. You don't have to earn my respect. I have earned my ability to be respectful, and I use that. I use that with pride.
Yeah.
So if whatever you do, and I do know also that people need to understand that some of the times when we express as women, we're actually expressing the symptoms of our suffering. Because when I came out of my situation with no self-esteem or low, it wasn't even low, no self-esteem. I had no confidence. I didn't trust my own judgment anymore, because how did I not see this coming? I kept not trusting myself. And so it made me give up. And many of the things that I did following that for years were actually a result of what had happened to me. And I could hear people judging me harshly too.
Yeah.
And then it was like twice the pain, because I was already going through that. And then I had to also deal with loved ones saying nasty shit about me.
Yeah.
The community saying things, and I had to deal with everything once. We need to be gentler with each other and understand some of the things that we're judging are actually symptoms of suffering.
Yeah.
Stop judging. Stop demanding that people appease us. Stop demanding that people please us. Who are you? Stop centering yourself in other people's lives.
Yeah.
And allow them to do the best they can with the tools they have. I didn't have any tools.
Yeah.
And I had no shoulder. I had nobody I could tell. Nobody. I was just out there as a kid doing the best I could to not go crazy.
Yeah.
I was this close to madness all the time. just doing whatever it took to hang on to that. My sanity was hanging by a thread.
Yeah.
And I managed to keep it. And I think that's something to celebrate. I don't think that's something to be judgmental of. So I don't care what person you're coming from. Whether you're coming from a religious one, whether you're coming from whatever you've based your morals on. I don't care about you and your morals.
Yeah.
I care about my sanity. I care about staying alive. I care about rebuilding myself to the point I can have a successful life. And that really does not center anybody but me.
Yeah.
So we have to get to the point where we start making our conversation be about sustaining each other in tangible ways too.
Yeah.
You know, not just getting up on a platform or a house or getting up on a podium and saying, I love you. Love isn't words.
100%.
Love is action. Love is a verb.
Yeah.
It's not word. So we need more than that. This is how we're going to find a solution. By actually being solution driven.
Yeah.
So when it comes to this space, like I'm working with a bunch of people right now, and I just want to say, big up to the church, to the section of the church, which was actually big enough and godly enough to reach out to me. I'm an atheist. And when the church reached out to me to collaborate, to say, I hear you, I feel your pain, we have similarities, how can we work? I was overwhelmed. I cried.
Wow.
I cried because this is something I didn't even know I wanted, but I wanted it.
Yeah.
I want us to be together in the same space, having respect for each other and healing from all the things that divide us.
Yeah.
And then working together to make sure it never does that again. And we're managing to do that now. This is how solution comes about.
Yeah.
Acknowledging you and saying, Kat, you are a complete person and you're here and I see you and I hear you.
Yeah. So
that you don't have to scream. Because if you speak to me in a neutral tone, if you just speak to me and I listen to you and I hear you, you never have to scream. And right now the entire world is screaming because we don't listen to each other.
Yeah. That's
so
true.
these are the things we have to do to find solutions. We have to listen, we have to respect, we have to love unconditionally. I mean, we sing a lot of love songs. It needs to transcend beyond the song and come into our lives, because some of the people speak a lot about love are the least loving.
Yeah. Wow. You know, it's so powerful what you're saying, and I just hope that people take it in and actions do happen, because that is definitely needed across the world.
Yeah.
100%.
I need it too, and this is why I speak. I don't profess to have the answers, you know.
Yeah.
I'm just one person, and I try to be pragmatic. I try to be neutral. Of course, I have my biases.
Yeah.
But if you can show me where I'm being biased, I have no problem letting it go and apologizing. Like, my bad. It wasn't intentional. Sorry.
Yeah.
Let me just get my bias and go. You know, but it's something that I need. So sometimes people say, yo, you're doing a lot of work, and they try to give me flowers, and I say no, and I think I'm being ungrateful. No, I'm not being ungrateful. It's not about me. It's bigger than me.
Yeah.
It's about us, the collective. And everything I do is selfish. I'm trying to create a space for me.
Yeah.
So it's not something I need praise for. I need us to work together. The time we spend giving accolades, if we spend that time working, we get more done.
Yeah.
You know? Just let's work.
I hear that 100%. You know, there's so much that you have said that kind of, I'll just hope that happens, if that makes sense, that we can work together, that people can get together, and like you said, that you can, I don't even know if it's closure, but yourself and others around the world can have some sort of, okay, let's move forward, how can we achieve this for the future for our younger people as well?
Yeah, I guess some people would call it closure.
Yeah.
Some people say movement. I mean, whatever you call it, that exhale.
Yeah.
You know, you have this pent up breath inside you for years, and you don't know how to get rid of it, and then somebody comes along and say, the other day I had a breakfast meeting with two pastors and their wives.
Yeah.
In one of them house, I would never have seen that coming. And we sat down and we talked about common problems that we have as far as social problems and economic and political problems. We talked about trying to find solution and reaching across the different divides and working together. And Dr. West, one of the let me see now, Dr. West is a pastor. He's an actual medical doctor.
Yeah.
And very very celebrated here in Jamaica and I think in the diaspora for his work. And his work is Christian based, he's God based, and we work on different sides of that fence.
Yeah.
But when we sat down to talk, and I felt his energy, and I got to see him as a person, I had to apologize. Like, listen, I've been screaming for years for you guys to listen to me and hear me, and I realized that I've not really been listening to you. I didn't hear you either, because now when I'm sitting beside you, it's a whole different person than I imagine you to be. And how did I arrive at getting or defining you?
Yeah.
I was wrong too, so I apologize for that. And then his wife said, you know, Tanya, if nobody has ever said this to you before, you have the right to be angry. You have the right to be angry, and if you feel bitter, then you have the right to be bitter. And I apologize for what has happened to you. It should not have happened. And I just started crying, because I've never heard that. Not once. I've never heard anything like it. And I didn't know I needed to hear it. But when I heard it, I realized I needed that.
Yeah.
So if that is what closure is, then everybody deserves to get it.
Yeah.
Because this woman has never done anything to me in my life. She never did anything to me. She just apologized on behalf of other humans.
Yeah.
And in so much. So if we can do this with each other, be gentler. Be gentler and understand that we're all going through things. Every one of us is going through things.
Yeah.
And don't assume anything either. Don't assume that because this person has a lot of material endowment, that means that they don't go through things. Like, material things don't stop you going through things.
Yeah.
In fact, make you go through more. Because when I had nothing, I didn't have as many problems as I got when I started accumulating things and becoming a hoarder. You know, when you become this economic and social hoarder, and you have all this clutter. It's clutter.
Yeah.
When you die, what you gonna do with $1 trillion? It's clutter. You know?
Yeah.
And we do this and without thinking, because we thought that this is what we're supposed to do. But the lighter you travel, is the easier you move.
Yeah.
So start shedding things. Go back to being minimalist, because this is what we are all born as, minimalists.
Yeah.
And be for each other, be gentle. Provide 2 shoulders.
Yeah.
You don't have to provide much. You know, you don't have money, but you know what? Most people don't need money. But they need love, understanding. It sounds cliche, but it's still true.
Yeah.
You need a shoulder to cry on. When you hurt, what can money buy you that would fix that?
Yeah.
You can get distracted. But when you hurt, you need love and attention.
Yeah.
You need nurturing. You need a back rub. Things that money can't really buy, because the impersonal back rub from a massage is not the same thing as pat from a loved one. It's the same thing.
Yeah.
So we have to do what we can, for what we can, and start seeing each other more, being there for each other, and just practicing more love.
Yeah. For real, I hear that. You know what? I'm hanging on every word you're saying, because I feel like these conversations haven't been had, or I haven't heard it, should I say. I know Queen Ifrica has done a lot of great work within the music industry, but I just haven't heard it so much, if that makes sense. So it's refreshing, and it's a blessing to hear you say it.
Well, I'm happy I could do that for you, and I have to tell you too that Queen Ifrica also is somebody we've been getting closer.
Yeah.
We realize that we have so much more in common than we have differences.
Yeah.
And I love her. I've always been somebody who really respects and love her talent, because she's extremely talented.
Yeah.
But a person, I'm getting to know her more, and I love her the person too.
Yeah.
So it's fun that you should bring her up, but these conversations, don't be gentle with us, because we don't have these conversations because we're afraid. We're taught to be afraid. We've been taught to be afraid of being vulnerable. We've been taught to be afraid of expressing ourselves or emotions. Especially growing up in the region I'm from Jamaica. and the Caribbean. And we're not people who are good with emotions. We're not. We're not to suppress them. But the boy get hurt, he's not supposed to cry because girls cry.
Yeah.
But at the same time, as a girl, if you cry, you're a wuss. So we're really talking about it a lot. And it just sits there and it builds up and it gets compressed and it builds up and gets compressed and it becomes a wall. And then we can't express because there's a wall between us.
Yeah.
And everybody has really solid stone wall built up so that communication is so strained. You know, so be gentle with us. We're a work in progress.
Yeah.
We've just now learned to express, and some of us are doing it by screaming. We haven't got to the point where we're putting those stockings in a civil way yet.
Yeah.
But the scream is good because the scream is like the release of shock. So there's sound coming out. Eventually we'll get to conversation. Just be gentle and be gentle with yourself too.
Yeah.
Because you know that impatience comes from the work that needs to be done in you.
Yeah.
And you have no deadline. That work can take place over however long it's necessary.
Yeah.
Because you will work at your own pace. But be gentle with yourself. Be gentle with you. You deserve it. You need it. You know?
Yeah.
Don't be impatient. Getting to that fix. Because we'll fix everything.
Yeah.
We keep creating problems, so there's no possibility of fixing everything. You know, as soon as you get one thing, it's like whack-a-mole. You just keep whacking and whacking, and it keeps slipping. But we're making progress, and we're doing a lot. And having conversations like this.
Yeah.
When I first started music, you didn't cease asking me these kind of real questions and having this kind of discussion. So it's progress.
Yeah.
We have come a long way.
Yeah.
So we do it.
Yeah. Wow. And you know what? I actually want to say thank you for being so open and being so honest about what's happened and, you know, being so willing to share because like you said, it is a vulnerable moment and I feel like it takes somebody like yourself to do that, to say, actually, people come out, talk about it. So I have to say thank you to yourself as well.
And thank you for participating.
Anything.
Because, hey, you know how many interviews I've done in my lifetime which were just so cliche? Were you born? Were you born? And so what did you do when you were a girl? Like, I'm tired of you.
Yeah. I hear that.
Ask me some real stuff.
Yeah. I hear that.
This is a real conversation, like two humans talking about human stuff.
Yeah.
That is refreshing too, and I appreciate you allowing this to happen because everybody who watches this will get something from it.
Yeah.
Both of us.
Yeah.
You know, and then hopefully they will engage on the social media platforms where they come across this so that the conversation can continue, and hopefully I'll get to be a part of it sometimes, you know, because this is how we grow.
Yeah.
This is how we grow. And we've been growing. Give us some ups. We deserve it.
Yeah, definitely. And I think one thing as well that's really difficult to deal with is the guilt of these acts that are put upon us. It's the guilt and kind of how do we forgive ourselves?
It's hard. I have that a lot.
Yeah.
For small stuff, for the smallest things.
Yeah.
Like I said something innocently. I have no evil intent. I have no bad intention at all.
Yeah.
And when I speak about exactly what I'm talking. I'm a simple person. So I keep it simple in conversation, in everything. And I say what I say, and then I realize somebody's hurt. It was not my intention.
Yeah.
And what I said was true. It's not a lie, but it wasn't my intention that you hurt. And then I carry a lot of this stuff that I think about, and I've had them for decades, thinking about what I could have done. Every time somebody close to me dies, I do that too. Like I think, what was the rest conversation? What could I have said different? How could I have impacted? What could I have done? And the truth is, you can do anything. It's gone.
Yeah.
So we have to get a point. Now I'm talking to myself all the time. I talk to myself even loud. Like, let it go. You can't do anything more. This is gone. What was your intention? Did you mean harm? No. Then let it go. It's gone. Did you inflict harm? No. Then let it go. The way somebody interprets what you do is entirely theirs. That's their property.
Yeah.
You can't change that. So just let it go. I mean, it's easier than done, but start actually trying to let it go.
Yeah, I hear that. For real, I definitely hear that. And you know, for the listeners who are locked in and listening to who and what you're saying, what would you say to them? Either if they're your fans or they're going through this particular situation or whatever it may be, what would you say?
Well, the first thing I would say is be gentle with yourself.
Yeah.
Because, you know, judging ourselves harshly often exacerbate the problem. Sometimes it's not as big as you think it is, but because you sit and you obsess over it, it grows.
Yeah.
It becomes, and then the obsession is what's actually hurting you and not the actual problem. So be gentle with yourself. Take some time off, step back from it.
Yeah.
You know, from it, like literally, and take it off your mind and come back with a fresh mind and fresh eyes and fresh ears. So you can better assess if how enormous is this really? Is it that bad? You know, take that you need to get some rest. Yeah. As many of our problems bigger when we're tired or we're exhausted. Drinking water, try to eat healthy. And when I say try to eat healthy, I don't mean in a fad kind of way. Every day you hear them say, oh, this diet. I'm not talking about dieting at all. Try to be healthy. And I'm not talking about looking sexy. I'm talking about being healthy. I don't care how you look.
Yeah.
And what you look like really matters. The body is just a vessel. But try to be healthy and especially take care of your mind. You know, try to give your mind a rest.
Yeah.
You know how much things would deal with on a daily basis? Sometimes just go lie under a tree if you're luxury.
Yeah.
Eat a fruit and don't think about nothing at all except just focus on the flavor that's popping in your mouth. And just savor it. Eat slowly.
Yeah.
And think about those being the fruit.
Yeah.
And just give yourself a break. Be gentle with you.
Yeah.
Be gentle.
Yeah, for real. You know what? There's just real words. Real words for real. And you know, I know we've been speaking and I've really enjoyed talking to you. You've been, like I said, you're one of the most realest people I've spoke to, for real. And I would love to keep on the conversation, you know, in regard to talking about sexual trauma or sexual abuse in that topic, but also about you as a person and how you've not necessarily like forgetting what's happened, but you're moving with the times. You're trying to focus on what you need to do. And I feel like it's so important to focus on yourself because there's so much happening around us. We kind of get a focus on everything around us, but you're focusing on what you need. And I feel like it's really important.
It's important to me, but I have to also make it clear that I do other things and sometimes obsess to them too.
Okay.
But the most important thing is always my development. Always.
Yeah.
Even when I have a child, my child is no longer a child, but I have an offspring now.
Yeah.
But there were times when, even when she was younger, and I had to step back and step away and go focus on me because I am of no use to her if I'm not well.
Yeah.
You know, I have to make sure I'm well. I have to be physically well enough to work to feed her. I have to be mentally well enough to stick around, to be of any use to her at all.
Yeah.
So it's important, you know, to understand that even though we will see everything, you will see everything because blind.
Yeah.
But then you have to start having conversations. You know, they've made us, society has us feel like it's criminal or crazy to talk to yourself. Nah. I'm the nicest person on earth to talk to, and everybody gets to talk to me. Why the hell should I talk to?
Yeah, I hear that.
Deserve it. So I talk to me, and I talk to the Lord whenever I feel like. I don't care who's listening. I really don't care. People, not my business.
Yeah.
So I have to myself like, girl, chill. You're doing too much. Chill. You know. And it works. After you do it for a while, you don't notice that you're doing it anymore.
Yeah.
You just, and you get even though you will see yourself need to stand up and say, hey, but that's not the aim, right? Focus.
Yeah.
I don't think it at first it feels like it's hard. Only because of the blocks that we're all being
put.
But once you do it, like that first you break, it's done. You don't feel that kind of apprehension anymore. It's like you become your best friend.
Yeah.
And you can sit and talk, and it's to be hard. By the way, no matter how good the person you are, when you first look at yourself, it's painful because we are our own worst critics and judges.
Yeah.
But when you've gone through it and you realize this is nothing, all this is an assessment. You can't do anything but look at it and learn from it and move on. And then it just becomes a killer process. Like, for me, not almost the same as breathing, because I do this every day. Look at what I did that made me uncomfortable. Try to figure out why it made me uncomfortable. And if I can fix it, fix it. If I can't fix it, then I'll be like, oh, well.
Yeah, I hear you. Wow. You know what? I feel like what I've taken from you as a person is to look at yourself and find out what makes you feel uncomfortable. Why did it feel like that? But also as well, forgive yourself. I feel like that seems something that I'm going to continually take from yourself, to forgive. Like what you've done and what's happened to you, you no longer can do anything about it. So obviously you can't always forget what's happened, but you can forgive what has happened.
Yeah, I mean, unless you have amnesia or some other kind of defect like that, you're not going to forget. But when you actually reach the point where you make peace with it and accept it for what it is, then it's not like you forget, but it goes away because it's no longer relevant to you.
Yeah.
So, first of all, don't dodge it, because it's just gonna keep coming. It's going to be relentless. It will keep doing that. I don't know. Lie down, get comfortable, and face it. Let it wash over you, and examine it. Look at it.
Yeah.
Kind of treat it like what's his name from The Sixth Sense, the little boy, when he was always ducking ghosts, and when he actually stood up and talked to them, and they started to tell him, did he realize that they weren't scary at all? They just needed help. But it's the same thing with what haunts us. We have to actually look at it and say, all right, what are you trying to teach me? What should I learn from this thing that keeps coming back? Obviously, there's something here that I need, because this is you doing it. And if you keep bringing it, obviously you need it.
Yeah.
Just check it out. That's the worst can happen. It already happened.
Yeah, I hear that for real. Wow. And you know, I know when people will listen to this as well, they every time I have an interview, people always say, well, what's next? What's next for you, Tanya Stephens? What can we expect from you next?
Well, I have an album coming out on the 2nd of September. It's called Some Kind, because I think all of this that we're doing is just madness.
Yeah.
As humans just express their madness at different levels. And so for right now, I'm focused on introducing the songs to people, having conversations. I'm a little bit of a recluse, which might sound weird since I do with people on social media, but that's controlled and very limited.
Yeah.
Outside of that, I'm a recluse. I don't do very many interviews, except when I'm releasing something commercial. I see point in having commercial discussions.
Yeah.
And wants to share every single thing, everything that I'm doing. If it's not relevant, I don't. So now I'm catching up. I'm having a good time doing it, because now they've taken me out on the road too, and I went to Weddy Weddy last night at Stone Love. It was the anniversary of Weddy Weddy. That was fun. I really enjoyed it.
Nice.
I went to Ramesh game night, and I sat and watched a whole yard full of people playing dominoes, and that was nice too.
Yeah.
And I realized that I miss people. I'm often very critical of humans, and sometimes I'm embarrassed to be human. Truth is, I love us and I miss us. And coming outside and being around us has kind of reminded me of the things I used to love more, and which used to make me happy when I was younger.
Yeah.
And so that is what I'm gonna be doing. Just making the circuit, and watching people react to the music and see if there's anything I can learn from that. And feeling good about the process that went into making it, because we really did put a lot of effort into it. I have to say big up to Junior Tad from Tad's Records. For being so easy to work with, being a really great producer who allowed me to express on right now. That's what we're doing. We're taking product on the road. And this is like our babies are going out into the world now, and we're biting our nails like, let's see how the world likes our babies. But at the end of the day, they're babies and we love them, so it doesn't really matter.
Yeah.
But you want your baby to fit.
Yeah.
So that's what we're doing right now.
Wow. And you know, if that tune that we've already had a little taster of, which was Diamonds in the Sun, if it's like that, and I'm guessing it'll be like that and continue to be like that, I'm looking forward to it. I'm definitely looking forward to it. I can just only imagine what this album's going to bring.
I'm looking forward to it too, and I've been invite everybody to let's have a follow-up question, because it's important to me to hear takeaways from this body of work, because this body of work is more than music. It's about sparking and continuing or building on conversation, and all of the topics are dear to me. And some are controversial, but every single one honest. Yeah. And I want to have a conversation. I want to talk about the hard stuff, you know?
Yeah.
So if you're up to it, we should talk again in a couple of months. Just let's see where we got to, and let's see if I've made any progress. Let's see if you've made any progress. What can we give to each other that would help us to make this progress that we're looking for? And how did the mission help? Did you get any more perspective on me? Yeah. Did I say anything conflicted with that I said? Because all things are what I hope to gain, to achieve from making the music, you know?
Yeah.
So,
wow.
Yeah.
Well, you know what? I feel privileged that you've asked me to do that. I really do. And I'm just so blessed that, like I said, I listened to you when I was younger, and I've listened to you as I've been growing up, and it's definitely been a blessing to actually speak with you and interact with you about a variety of topics, and just having that conversation with a person. You know, I know you're a fantastic artist, but you've come across as, I'm a person, I'm a human being, come and talk to me, you know, and I feel like that's a blessing, and I hope more and more people and artists and so on do that for the future, for our younger generation as well. And I feel so blessed to have actually had that.
I'm happy I could make it fit. But I mean, some artists might do it, some might not, but everybody is at their stage of development, you know, and it's neither good nor bad, it's not better or worse, it's just where we are. So if they do it, would be nice, and they don't, it's still nice, we still love them, you know?
For real.
But I'm really happy I'm happy that we could just went, and it was good it really was good for me. I hope it's even half as good for you.
100%. And you know, sis, you know how it is. I can't have you on my program and not ask you if you would be willing to either sing a little something, either say a little something, whatever you're feeling. Because I'm not going to like say you have to do this. Whatever you're feeling. Would you be up for that?
Of course.
Wow. She just said, yeah, man, I'm ready. When you're ready. Whatever you want to do.
Oh, they're gonna make us cry tonight, but we'll forgive them, everyone. Cause even the tears are beautiful out there. Glitz like diamonds in the sun.
Hey, blessings. That is just, whew. People, please keep it locked in every time, because this is going to be fire. And like I said, sis, I'm going to send you a message on Instagram and Facebook and so on, so we can keep the link as well. I feel like you're just like an auntie, man. Just like an auntie. I'm not joking. And it's been a blessing, and I thank you for your time. I know you're a very busy person, and I do thank you for your time and, you know, actually speaking with me and that. It's been a blessing.
Thank you.
Anytime.
It really has been a blessing. I've enjoyed it. Thank you very much.
Same here. Thank you so much. And like I said, I hope you have a blessed rest of the day, week, month, year. I'm looking forward to what's coming, for real.
Same to you. Yeah, in a few months, we talk again and we see where we are, what progress. Let's do our first update.
Yeah, man, I'm up for that. I'm definitely up for that, for real. Blessings. Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you.